Hello, girls and gays. Welcome back to the podcast
with
your hosts, Chia,
Bug and
special guest.
Olive.
So
Not
today,
the ASMR voices.
today's gonna be slightly an ASMR video because we're in a cafe.
We're in public.
If you ever want to speak urgently, tap me.
My hand is on her thigh.
You guys can't see it, but sexual tension.
The sexual tension is high. So this is our friend Olive. Olive, do you want to introduce yourself? Talk about yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I'm Olive. I'm 20. I'm a uni student. And I'm good. I'm so good. Do I talk about the topic of the episode?
No, introduce yourself.
Okay.
What do you like?
Yeah.
What do I
What
like?
do they need to know about you as a core?
Why are you hip
What
and
is
with
what
us?
is Olive core?
Olive core is like being really awkward and unpopular in high school, and then having like the biggest glow up of your life, and then
Relate.
thriving, and then having a massive mental breakdown, and then glowing up again.
It's like the Marianne connection of normal people, where she's like, I came to college and got pretty. That's Olive.
That's all.
Yeah, I'm literally that Irish bitch. Yeah, that's me.
And now they're so sexy. It's kind of crazy.
So the topic of today's episode is hot girls get medicated, because they do.
It's true. Every day.
Olive and I are both on medication for our mental illnesses, but Sana is off scot-free.
Yeah.
But we're going to discuss all of our different experiences with different mental health issues, mental health and well-being in general, how we handle ourselves, our experience with getting medicated and not getting medicated, and just have an open discussion about depression, anxiety, bipolar, all of these things.
All the things.
All the things. I think this is a very important episode, and I like that we're doing this near the beginning of our podcast journey, because mental health is a very important and central thing in my life, and we all have experiences with it. So I think it's important to discuss, and the more that people discuss on the internet and in life and in general, the less stigma is surrounded by mental illness. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of what took me so long to get on meds was a lot of shame and a lot of issues within my own family history of like so many of my family members being medicated and it just going like so wrong for them, and I was so terrified, and I didn't want to just be like, oh well, I fucked up, I'm on meds, because that's kind of how I viewed it.
The little medicated shoot.
Yeah. I also took a really long time to get help for my mental health and get on medication, because there was a lot of fear surrounding it. And that also comes with a lack of knowledge, because if you don't know about something, you're going to be fearful of it, and if your information on it is limited and you only hear like bad experiences or bad stories, then that really influences how you approach seeking help
Yeah,
and receiving help.
definitely. I mean, I've been in psychotherapy since I was 14, so it's not like I was completely without help until I was medicated. Why don't we talk about what medications we're on, how long we've been on them?
I was about
Just
to say,
like
why don't we start with
Yeah.
when you guys got medicated?
Yeah.
Because that's part of the nexus for me not being medicated.
I got medicated in October of 2023, or early October, late September, following a very, very difficult period of my life, where I couldn't eat, sleep, leave the house. I couldn't do anything. I was kind of bedbound.
Bro was down bad,
Yeah. I was
Not in the
unwell.
fun way.
to say the least.
Yeah, no.
And for me, I got medicated around February of 2023 after a suicide attempt, and after having really bad mental health for many, many years, and just sort of brushing it under the rug, trying to ignore it and repress it. That obviously made it way worse. Would not recommend repressing your emotions. And so yeah, I got put on antidepressants February 2023. I was put on escitalopram, which is a very common antidepressant, and it didn't really work because I was misdiagnosed with depression, or just I guess only depression. And then I had another very dark suicidal episode in November. After which my medication was adjusted and I was put on something in conjunction with my escitalopram.
Yeah, I got put on sertraline, 50 milligrams, and to be honest, like I've stayed on that dosage for a year, and that's where I'm comfortable at. We'll talk about dosage later, but I got extremely lucky.
You have a friend lucky now, and we're in front of a window.
So
We
very
have a beautiful view of Geneva right now.
the rain.
So you could full continue.
Yeah, no, I basically I was put on sertraline, and I pretty much just stuck with the same thing. I mean, I think that's also part of my issue. Sometimes it's like I get very comfortable in one scenario, and that's something to discuss. Should I consider upping my dosage, changing my meds? I don't know.
When I was first put on escitalopram, I was put on the lowest dosage, and then after it didn't work really. It worked for a little bit of time, but then I got way worse again. So then I was put on a higher dose, the highest dose of escitalopram possible, and then in conjunction with that, I was put on what's it called? Chiaandbug, which is an anti-seizure medication, an insomnia medication, and a bipolar medication. And I'm using it specifically to treat bipolar. My bipolar girlies, where you at?
Yeah.
And for like a little diagnosis of all three of us, Sana has had experiences with depression and anxiety her whole life. Short-lived, and she
Little
handled them.
trysts.
She handled them.
See,
without meds.
I'm one of those rare people that did in fact just get happy,
Thug
which
it out.
is
She thugged it
which
out.
is not the case with many people. I think because my depression and anxiety were very specific to a time period in my life and a situation I was in. So when those situations evolved and changed, it was much easier for me to like dig myself out of my depression because it's not.
It was more circumstantial rather than chemical
It was
or deep
something
rooted.
made me depressed, and then that thing went away.
Yeah,
so
when
then
she
I was able to
eliminated that out of
stop.
her life.
I was able to stop being depressed. But there was talks of putting me on medication. But at the time, I was like 14, and my mom was not for it because I was already on many pills for different health issues, and she was just like, "I don't think we need to go after the chemicals in her brain. I'll be so real," because she was
Pick a
also
struggle.
like, yeah, and she's my mom, so I was like, oh yeah, whatever, fresh, we'll thug it out, and I did in the end, and I still have little bouts of anxiety, but it's not like I
Life.
need
Yeah.
medication to live. I can kind of just breathe in a room or leave the function if
Like you experience panic attacks, right?
yeah, I had very bad panic attacks for like a year, but then once again the circumstance changed. So like with those mental health issues in that circumstance, they kind of just went away as the circumstances in my life changed. But there were talks of putting me on medication because I was diagnosed with those issues, but my mom was like, they're circumstantial, and she's 14. I don't want to put chemicals in her brain too young, especially since she thought I would, in fact, get out of the experience. But that's me.
One of the things I really admire about Sana is from what I understand of her, she's very good at self-soothing. So when she's having a panic attack or something like that, or just in a really bad place, she knows when to leave a function. She knows what to do when she gets to her room. She goes under a table. She like gets herself all small. She has a routine, and I think that's super important.
She's so good at digging herself out of holes.
Yes.
Me personally.
The willpower of this girl, she like crawls out of every hole that she finds herself in, and I really respect that about you. I really
I'm a little mental health mole. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why my brain does this. I think I just got very good at self-soothing. So, especially when we were at the peak, at the bottom of the pit, in the mental
see the
health
first episode.
hole, when we were there, like that didn't really impact me so much because I was fully experiencing like trenches war when I was 14. So like you kind of just you're like, it can't be that bad. I've experienced bad times, and though that doesn't always work to compare situations to minimalize feelings, minimize. It works for me, but yeah, I have very specific routines. It's kind of freakish to the point I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm too happy. There's gonna be a very bad come down from this happy feeling I have, and I literally like I won't stop the happy times, but I do like weird preparing to be sad afterwards, or like when I get really anxious, like you said, I go into the fetal position, usually under a desk or a table, because for me,
She puts herself into a box.
like literally I get as small as possible, because then it's just like, well, I'm so tiny, it's gonna stop eventually, and usually it does, and I just go to bed. But
I'm
as
a nosy.
for
I throw up.
no, like
Yeah, let's-
I'm just like, let
I have
me
a
get
metaphobia. I hate Olivia for this.
you guys
Almost
you're-
ended our friendship.
It almost ended up a story time, mini story time. This is very topical though, because it's
We'll come back to it.
yeah. Oh, okay. Right now? Oh, time check. All right, here's a little story time. Olive and I have been friends for around 4 years. We became friends in high school. Oh my God! Wait, we should talk about how we became friends because that's also topical.
It is
Wait, we have so
terrible.
many story times for you guys. This is actually very appropriate. Oh yeah, Olive is the reason Sana and I became friends, and yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty great.
olive
I'm sure
tree,
it's a
olive
good time
branch.
to-
Yeah, low-key, I might get an olive branch tattoo dedicated to you, or just an olive, just in general.
Olives are so cute.
Yeah, they are cute. Even though I don't like them, I would never eat an olive. I know you do. Anyway,
all the weird foods you don't
no.
fuck with, that,
So, I befriended Alicia.
In psychology class
In
of all
psychology
places.
Okay, so this is a segue kind of from Sana talking about her experience with mental health.
And dealing with panic attacks
attacks.
and things like that.
So I have been mentally ill since I could remember, basically. I have a lot of developmental trauma. I have a lot of family history of just issues that I've just kind of inherited my whole life. And um, and yeah, basically I've been just mentally unwell for a long time. I've been in therapy since I was 14. I've been medicated for a
14 really
year.
is the golden age.
Yeah. And when I was 16, it was particularly bad. Honestly, at every age, it was particularly bad. But I think 16, 17 was like my pits for a long time. And I was in psychology class with Chia and our teacher. We had this lovely little positive,
Substitute teacher.
radiant substitute teacher.
She did this thing every Monday called Mindful Mondays, and one it was
like
cute.
my worst nightmare, Loki.
Yeah,
But doing that in
Well,
yeah.
Like,
it
that's
was
you.
no, but
It was brutal for this one
because this particular mindfulness Monday it was her saying, "Okay, I want you to list 5 things you're grateful for, 5 things you're looking forward to, 5 people you love, something like that." And I could think of nothing. I was grateful for nothing. I had nothing to look forward to. I was basically plotting the end of my life at that point, and it was not. I was just so, and I just burst into tears because
So-
I couldn't think of anything to put on the paper.
I was sitting next to Olive. I was writing, "Oh my God, 5 things I'm looking forward to."
yeah,
and
this
then-
bitch.
So-
La-di-da-di-da.
la 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 la. And then I look at Olive and she's written nothing. And I look at her face and she's like crying under her mask. Her glasses are all fogged
COVID.
up, COVID era. And then she goes to the bathroom. And me, I don't really know her very well, but I fuck with her vibe kind of heavy. Oh,
You're always been nosy.
I am nosy. I'm nosy and I'm an empath. So I follow them to the toilet. They head into a stall. They're sitting on the toilet. I knock on the door. I sit down in the stall with them and I'm like, "Yo, like what's good?" And they're
Nothing is good.
Nothing is pure in this world. And they're like they were just like, "Yeah, I'm like gonna kill myself." And I was like, "Damn." You're like, "Oh, that's tough."
Yeah. So from there, a beautiful friendship blossomed. Because I think that was the first time I'd spoken to someone my age about it. Because obviously my therapist knew, or like I had online friends who knew or something. But at that point, I was so lonely, and I hadn't really opened up about it really fully until that point, and it was lovely.
But
was
talking
a
to
turning point.
someone your age will really change it, because I don't know, it's like when you're talking to adults a lot, like when you're a teen or a child, it feels very foreign. They expect you to react a certain way, whereas if you're just talking to someone your age, they're just like, you just are different to me. Whereas adults try and put you in boxes or like understand you from like a kind of analytical point of view. Like
Clinical perspective.
another thing about me and my lore, I've had 3 therapists. All of them have done worse to me than I was prior to them. I think it's my thug it out nature. I'm so pro therapy. I believe my therapist is out there, like my soulmate. I'll meet them one day. but I had very bad go with therapists, and they all taught me very strange lessons. But they try and put basically, I had like one of my therapists. She told me to stop using big words when I was describing my feelings. She was like, "Stop using big words," and I was like,
Mama, let's
"Okay, sir, I'm
research.
smart." Like,
Dictionary.
she literally was this older Russian woman, and she was like, "Stop using big words," and I was like, "Bro, I'm here to talk about my feelings, like, and you don't like my vocabulary, like, oops." And then I never went back, but pro therapy.
I'm also extremely pro therapy, and I feel so bad when I speak to people about therapy, and all they've had is like bad experiences of therapy, because
I love my therapist.
I love my therapist too. Well, I don't have really one currently, but I've only ever had one therapist, and it was when I started going to university in London. I moved away from high school, I moved away from home. I was in London, which is a crazy big, scary city, and I was the worst mentally that I'd ever been. So I was like, I know I want to start therapy as soon as I get to London. Found a galley, she was so slay, love her, still talk to her. Celine, the goat, such a good therapist. But then when I speak to friends or anything who are dealing with things, I'm like, you should talk to a therapist, because I think no matter what you're going through, you don't have to be in the trenches. You can just be dealing with any sort of life problems. Therapy helps. These people are trained to help you. And unfortunately, a lot of people like Sana have a bad go with therapy, and then they just sort of like brush it off and they don't want to try it again. And I find that really unfortunate, because it can be such a help. It was
I
such a help.
I also find like obviously Chi and I have thrived with conventional forms of like talk therapy, psychotherapy, um, but I think part of the issue comes from believing that everyone will benefit from the same kind of therapy. So people view therapy as this very cut and dry thing. You know, Sigmund Freud lying on the couch, like blame your parents for everything. But that's not the case. I think CBT, which is a lot of what the NHS in the UK prescribes, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, works for some people and works for some issues. But I thrived a lot better with emotion focused therapy. I'm very fortunate in that my therapist, shout out Kate, who's been with me forever, like has been willing to try different things. I have also tried eye movement desensitization and rehabilitation therapy, which I've done hypnotherapy. I've tried lots of things because there is not only just one avenue that's going to help you. You know, there's animal therapy, there's art therapy. There are so many diverse ways, because I think rightfully so people have an issue with psychotherapy in a way that they feel like, oh, but it just feels like they're just poised to take your side. You know, like it is that tweet that's like, the worst person you know right now is in therapy being told that it's not their fault. That is an issue, which is why you need like a wide array of
Options,
things,
yeah.
things
Like-
to nourish you.
Like my friend Holly, she has the second version of therapy. What's it called? Like behavioral. Yeah.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Holly, she tried normal therapy and she just didn't like it. She was like, it's unproductive because she's an overthinker. And she's like, I've already thought of all the versions of my feelings that feel this way. Why would I need someone to explain why I feel that way? I know exactly why I'm spiraling and the way I spiral. So for her, getting help on how to stop spiraling or stop overthinking or recognize a spiral before it gets bad and like she goes crazy in her room, um, was super helpful for her. She didn't like the emotion. She didn't want that. She's like, I know what they are. I just want to stop them from happening or make them less scary when they happen or less consuming.
For me, I'm very similar, because I feel like depending on what kind of person you are, you'll grow up very like self-aware, aware of your feelings. I mean, I've been journaling since I was like 10,
Same.
you know, so I'm just like very in tune with my feelings. So I am starting to find that, and I did find this a bit of my year. I only did a year of therapy, but it was pretty interesting. That like talking about stuff that's going on in my brain, it's just like, why am I telling a therapist about it? Like, I already know all these things, like, and it's just like getting affirmation from them, and I find that I'm maybe not into that, so maybe something else would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I think people view like the role of therapy very differently, and I think people, the one that I hear the most is like, I don't need therapy. I already know why I feel the way that I do, and I'm like, okay, great. So what are you gonna do about that? So like, you know, and you're gonna what? Keep being self-destructive just because you think it's fine because you know what's wrong with you. You don't have to actually do anything to address it.
I think solution-based therapy is what I would most be like,
Yeah.
what I would most benefit from. For
When
sure.
I started therapy, what I needed was someone to talk to. I had like no friends. I was so lonely. I was like, it was like debilitating. My home life was shit. I couldn't cope, and I just needed someone to talk to, an outlet. And she provided that for many years. Nowadays, now that I've like flourished outside of home and like just finding my way in life, but last year, for example, I had a huge mental health setback, and I realized that my mental health issues were not confined to the home. Because similar to Sana, my mental health issues growing up were very circumstantial. Like, of course, I'm depressed. My home life sucks. Of course, I'm anxious. Something else sucks. But last year I was going into my second year of uni, and it became very apparent to me that like my mental health issues actually permeate all parts of my life and are not just contained to my house. And it led to a very traumatic situation for me, for other people involved, where I just snowballed basically, and I behaved in a way that I would never in a million years behave now, because I like to think I've awoken since then. But basically,
You've
yeah,
grown.
I've grown a lot. And that was when therapy became less about just, oh, I need someone to talk to I need solutions. I need like to know how to cope with this, which is when we've switched to more emotion focused therapy, more somatic techniques for my therapy. It's when I tried hypnotherapy, EMDR, and all other things. I think the purpose of therapy can change throughout your lifetime.
For sure. And it's important to just like keep evolving. Mic check. I think another thing to also be in constant like evolution with is like your diagnoses, because I feel like when you get a diagnosis at a certain age, it can be very sort of self-determined. She wants the mic. Can be sort of self-deterministic, and like you get a diagnosis, and this is why a lot of people actually that I know fear going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because they don't want to get diagnosed, because then they'll be like, oh, I'm depressed, I have anxiety, I have this and that, OCD, and that's why, and use it as an excuse for things. I don't believe in that. I think a diagnosis is more helpful than it is unhelpful.
I'm so pro
Diagnosis is fire. Like,
I mean, I think to provide a counter, because I agree that a diagnosis can be super helpful, but I spent most of my teen years begging my therapist for a diagnosis, begging for an explanation. I wanted to be categorized so bad. I think also because I grew up on the internet, and a lot of my friends had these like hardline diagnoses, and I felt so left out. And I think I was fortunate enough to have a therapist who told me, like, look, Olivia, you are living in an extremely challenging situation, like home life circumstance. You are behaving accordingly. Like, and the best that she could do was teach me some emotional regulation skills. It was kind of just tiding me over until I left home. And I think, a diagnosis will not save you, and it is not enough of a tool to fix your behavior. And if you weaponize that, then that's on you. However, I think putting a name to behaviors, or like understanding.
2, 1.
Shh, that was so loud. A diagnosis will not save you, but it may explain a lot of your behaviors. I also think we speak from
I don't like this. This one.
I think we also speak from a place of immense privilege, that our diagnoses fall within the conventional boundaries of depression, anxiety, and bipolar. It depends, but these are more conventional diagnoses. Other people can be extremely restricted by diagnoses. I know that an autism diagnosis in the UK, for example, can deny you adoption rights. I know that a lot of cluster B personality disorders or otherwise, or psychosis dependent diagnoses can really alter your life, and being misdiagnosed can change things. However, on a very basic level, being diagnosed can change your life, because it can lead you to access medication. It can also help you realize, like, oh, I'm not broken. There are actually lots of people who feel this way. We just kind of operate a little differently. Yeah, that was me.
And bouncing off Olive's point, I think when you get a diagnosis, it can really help you realize that, as Olive said, you're not broken. You just have to, you can adjust your life in order to like accommodate this mental illness. And I think that is a super cool thing. And ever since I was diagnosed with a form of rapid cycling bipolar disorder, I was able to be very attuned to my feelings and attuned to my body and be aware of when I'm starting to feel more manic and I feel the mania creeping in, and also when I start to feel depression creeping in. So I can then have the tools from therapy and also just from like life awareness of how to combat that or sort of nip it in the bud or make it so it doesn't hit as hard.
Yeah. I mean, like, we talk about my like silly routines, but that's really all they are. And especially like if you understand what it is, like for you it's like, oh, this is mania. So how do we like you can build yourself a way to like not fall deeper or not make choices you might not make otherwise. And like, yeah, it's very helpful. And Olive always helps me and tells me no good thought is thought after 10 p.m. And I think
Olive always says
8
that.
p.m.
8 p.m. That's
8
their
p.m.?
mantra.
And you move it up with the sunset.
oh
I live in the Arctic Circle. You have to move that shit up.
Be- move it up.
Because once the sun goes away, your life is over.
The sun sets at 4 p.m. in the UK in the winter, and I think that's why everyone is sad and evil over there, low-key.
Seasonal depression does not play. That is why I could not thrive in London. See first episode. But I'm now bound to Australia. And I'm basically, my life plan from now on is to chase summer my entire life and never experience winter again. Because I'll be in that hemisphere where it's summer in like December. And then when it's summer here in like July and August, I will come to this hemisphere and it'll just always work out. Or I'll be in Asia. I will never experience seasonal depression again. I do not thrive in the winter. It's gray outside today.
My mood shifted so fast. I woke up, I was like, I'm tired.
Yes.
When it's rainy and gloomy, I'm like, oh.
No, it's so funny. Like, everyone's like, I've been so tired this week. And I'm like, oh, is it because it's cloudy and rainy and you can't see the sun for the first time in months? And it's like, yeah, it's lethargy, bro. Like, you're just going to be you have to adjust again. But we had a debate about this earlier, but I'm excited for it to be fall because I've experienced a Phineas and Ferb level 6 month summer, which has been fantastic, but also so tiring. So I am excited. For the next chapter because now I'm going to Bristol. Lit. I have so many friends. People are actually like, when you coming? What's happening? Let me know. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. People are expecting my arrival.
Sana deserves some catharsis because she has just been going through it, you know.
I've been absolutely, you know what, I think what it is, I've just been surrounded by ops my whole life. At every point, everyone I think is an ally, op, turns out to be an op, no matter how long they've been undercover. Op.
We're not ops.
No, you guys are new because you're in my fresh life. But anyone that I've met outside of you guys in the past 10 years, been ops, bro. I can count on one hand the number of people that have like been in my lives for more than a year and not done something evil.
Don't mind the fact that we're all passing around this fuck-ass phone because
yeah,
our
mics hate
mics...
us. Dumb bitches. We're getting new ones.
Yeah, fuck these bitches, honestly.
I can't figure it out and I'm over it. So we're gonna
They keep
get
turning
nice
off
mics.
sporadically. Anyway, yeah, we'll get like proper like studio type. Like we'll invest for y'all. Anyway, should we talk about our like overall experiences with mental health, sort of go deeper into it?
Medication as well.
Let's start with the mental health and like our personal experiences with it. Our experiences with depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever the fuck, CPTSD, any of that. Let's fucking do it. Olive, take it away.
So as was aforementioned, that's my favorite word to use in an essay, aforementioned. Anyway, as was aforementioned, I have struggled with developmental trauma and kind of a family history of mental illness kind of surrounding me, like from birth. I couldn't catch a fucking break. I'm not formally diagnosed with CPTSD, however, developmental trauma kind of translates into CPTSD. What differentiates complex post-traumatic stress disorder from post-traumatic stress disorder is that it stems from long-term either abuse or exposure to instability, and it really changes the way that you're able to form relationships and like able to like live your life. And I didn't really realize how it was. I mean, I always knew I had issues, and again, I would beg for a diagnosis. I was like, I know something's wrong with me, I know it in my heart. Also because certain family members of mine have more serious diagnoses like schizophrenia or whatever. You name it, we've got it. And like, you know, I always knew something was wrong with me, but I figured, you know, it's fine. I can regulate my way out of this. And I think, and I did not. And
Hamilton cover, I regulate my way out.
yeah. But I did not. And I think my first year at uni, I mean, I had a good time, but a lot of it showed me like,
Olive visited me for the first time in London. For the first time in London, and
That's second year. What
no.
about first
This
year?
was first year. They entered my flat in London, come to my kitchen, sit down, just burst into tears, start crying.
okay, but that's because first year of uni is tough. That has nothing to do with the fact that I was depressed. That was just like, I hadn't met my friends yet. I met my friends pretty much immediately after that trip.
I was in
Love
uni
them.
for 2 years, never met my friends. That will do things to you.
That will
Like
do
I said,
things
I
to a
only
man.
met ops.
Yeah.
Friends I thought. The friends I had made, were ops.
They were indeed
They were
ops.
all ops.
I was
people.
lucky enough to make friends in first year. That
Oh
were
yeah,
amazing.
I have made beautiful friends. Sorry, Sana, I have had the best time.
Here's my year.
Yeah, that time's a jump. And yeah, basically it just kind of exposed itself in ways that I was not expecting, that I hadn't, because when you're a teenager and your world is so small, your world is high school and your home, you know, there's not really much to show you just how much your parents have fucked you up. And then you go out into the real world and you're like, oh, I don't know how to cope with any like emotional instability or anything. And that again culminated in kind of a breakdown last year, and circling all the way back to emetophobia gate. I developed this extreme irrational fear of and a lot of intrusive thoughts surrounding friendship, where I was like, I don't love my friends. I can't be there for them. And when they like express love for me, I need to shut it out. It's kind of similar. I would describe it as similar to how like avoidant attachment people are about their relationship. Yeah, I would describe it as that, basically, where I would get these extreme fears of like this paranoia almost that would grip me of like, I cannot be there for people. And this was linked to a specific event that has taken me a lot, and I'm still not fully over it, to be honest. Like, I still really struggle with it.
But I cried about it the other day in my house, like 2 days ago.
Thank you. And right after New Year's, 2023 into 2024, I was hanging out with Alicia and Matt, who are like literally like my two like closest friends from home, I would say, aside from Sana, my long-standing girlie. Like, I love them like with my whole heart, and I know that in my heart, but
Mert is our gay best friend.
yeah, we don't talk about him. Gay boy. Jump him.
He follows us everywhere like a puppy.
Yeah, yeah, and basically we were hanging out and they started expressing their love for me and like each other, and they were like, oh, like I hope like we're in each other's lives for a long time, and like I really love you guys, and like and I just started freaking the fuck out, and I was like, I can't do this, like this is too much. It reminds me too much of a previous situation that like scarred me, and I started like hyperventilating and crying. I couldn't stop crying, and when I get really anxious, I get really nauseous. I can't eat. And then Matt was driving me home, and Alicia, severely emetophobic. I was like, Matt, you need to pull over. And then I was like, Alicia, stay in the car. And I ran out and threw up in the middle of nowhere on like the lawn of some school. I was just ill, and Matt had to like hold my hair while Alicia was in the car, like. And then it happened again.
In my fucking flat
in London. I visited.
Second year. This is like literally a year after the other time where she came in and started crying.
No, that was this year. Those were both this year. Oh, different. Oh, sorry, the crying, not the throwing up. Yeah, I'm a winner. There's one thing about me. I'm consistent. And I walked into Alicia's flat, and I was just like immediately overwhelmed. And then I was like, I'm gonna throw up, and I just immediately threw up. And then I cried in an Italian restaurant while these two ate pizza.
Sana and I were munching on our pizza, and Olive was just inconsolably Olive was inconsolably
We
crying
felt like neglectful parents
because we were just
the
eating
issue
our
was-
pizza.
Because we knew Olive didn't want us to like touch them or talk to them or do anything in particular. They were just feeling their feelings, and we're like, okay, we know they need to do this, but then, you know, like we're in a public restaurant, and the waiters especially, were giving us looks like we made Olive cry,
And they were
didn't
looking
care.
at Olive like,
I was just like,
is this bitch
And
okay?
they were looking at us like we were like sociopathic,
like neglectful of Olive, but anyhow.
like we were the cause, and we're
Yeah.
like, no, we love them.
in essence, that has been the evolution of my mental health. It has shifted a lot from like circumstantial, like extreme suicidal depression to extreme anxiety to my developmental issues interfering with my friendships. And now I mainly just deal with like severe anxiety about certain situations where like something will happen. I'm like, this is irreparable, and I throw up and I feel deeply unwell. But then most of the time I'm chilling since medication, and we'll circle back to that.
Okay, time for my evolution of mental health. So basically, I lived a life from the ages of 0 to 10 that I didn't really clock much about, and only started clocking later in life the consequences of those years.
The consequences.
The consequences, CPTSD, if you will. Which I think is common in everyone. Like, everyone knows your parents like transmit their trauma onto you. Like, it's just it's how it is. Can't help it. But basically, I would say around 7th grade, I started getting suicidal thoughts. And I remember I went on this trip. This is when I lived in Vietnam, and I went on a school trip. And I was just so anxious that I thought I was gonna die. And I remember writing in my journal, and I still have these journals from 7th grade, just being like, I was listing reasons to stay alive because I was so suicidal in 7th grade. That's so fucked up. And then it passed.
Chemicals were not chemicaling.
The chemicals were not chemicaling. And then I didn't really know what was wrong with me. I always thought when I was younger that I just had this sort of like black hole in my brain that I couldn't describe. Now I understand. I was just dealing with malignant shame. If you don't know what that is, that was actually the most like, how do I say? Yes, that was the most breakthrough thing. When I realized after a year of therapy that I had been dealing with malignant shame my entire life, it was so nice. It was so nice to just know and put a name to the feeling. Malignant shame, toxic shame. If you've ever experienced this or have, dealt with this in your life, you know how fucking horrible it is.
Do you have like a little description for people that don't know what it is?
I would say it's where you grow. I would say it's where you grow up with the notion that your feelings are wrong. So you constantly repress your feelings, and having your feelings so intrinsically tied to who you are, you then start to just believe ultimately that you are wrong.
Yeah.
And like there is just so much wrong with you and things like that, and you don't get validated for how you feel. It's just crazy. But yeah, so then I had a really fun time from around like in my like mid-teens, so like 16, 15, I was getting lit. I was having so much fun. Now I know I was very manic in that period of my life, and I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was just overzealous, so happy, but I was actually quite manic in a way that was not normal, in a way that my peers were not. Overly happy in a way that nobody around me was. And then I moved to Switzerland, where I meet these two gorgeous girlies, and that's when like depression really sets in.
Europe does that.
The weather.
The weather was crazy, and just like that amount of change at such a like
It is massive.
change is such a
We
catalyst
went
for
from
mental
living
illness.
in a Vietnamese city to moving to bland
Switzerland,
Switzerland.
yeah.
We love it here. It's beautiful, but there's not anything going on.
Yeah.
Especially now, having been to Hanoi, so different.
I took
So
her.
different.
Oh, see the last episode. But basically, yeah. So then depression just was a thing that never really went away for the past 4 years. Had periods where it got worse. I can think of 4 near-death experiences I've had. via suicide attempts, which is not lit, would not recommend. But yeah, so I was diagnosed with depression, was on antidepressants, later found out after a manic episode last summer where I filmed Meantime, which was the short film where we all met, well, where I met Sana. I was extremely manic in that time, and that was the first time since Vietnam that I was just like really fucking manic. And my parents were like, I guess, is she just happy? Is this how she is when she's happy? Because I was depressed for so long before that. So they were like, okay, this is a bit concerning, but like maybe this is just normal, Alicia. And it was not. Spoiler alert, it was not. Because as soon as I went back to London to begin second year, I went from here to here, just so rapidly. Rock bottom, I had thought that the rock bottom I had in first year, I thought that was rock bottom. I broke the bottom of rock bottom and went even lower. And that's when I was put on medication for bipolar, upon realizing that the highs and lows of high school football were like too high and low. They were not normal.
Not normal high and low.
Not normal high and low. Not Archie high and low.
Not in prison telling a man in low school that he hasn't
Who
felt
dropped out of
anything.
school to help his nana push drugs in the 4th grade.
He's not been living right.
No. Anyway, so that is my experience with mental health. And growing in acceptance of depression and bipolar and malignant shame and all this has been super paramount in me feeling better. And I can happily say, on a light note for this podcast, that in this period of my life, I'm the most stable and happy to be alive that I've ever been. Seriously, like not in a manic way, in a completely rational way. So that's really
genuine way.
So that's really awesome to say, and I'm really glad to say that, because here's another reminder of this podcast that if you're going through it, it does get better.
It always does. It's a trick of the mind.
I never thought it was gonna get better. See suicide.
The only constant in life is change. Nothing you feel is gonna be permanent. Not the good, not the bad. And like, you can find that depressing, whatever. That's just something you have to come to terms with. Yeah, there is darkness. There will be darkness in the light times, and there will be light in the dark times. There's no other way around it, to be honest. And I think that's really hard to contend with when you're at the bottom of it. And I hated hearing it. I hated hearing like, well, it gets better.
I couldn't wait for it to get better, and that was my issue. I was like,
You kept being like, is this it?
I was like, it's not worth it. Like, the pain I'm enduring now is not worth the happiness that could potentially come later. But I was wrong, and I'm very happy to be here.
I think this is where medication definitely comes in clutch, because whereas we're riding the peaks and valleys of depression and mania, like you go from this kind of like spiking in mood to like this, where you're like, okay,
It's a lot more manageable.
things are bad, but it's not so over because it's bad. Yeah.
Like the depth to which you are like taken by your feelings and associate them with what you're going through gets way more tolerable. Because with me, I'm like, we know Sana's a self-soother, that she kind of can thug most things out. Like, we've spoken about this past year, absolute nasty work, probably some of the worst work I've had to thug through since I was 14. And it was super interesting being an adult and being alone this time around, because I was like, oh, I have to also feed myself, and I also have to like clean my sheets, and that list never goes away. So like there's this extra weird mundane pressure to keep going, but then like simple things like picking up your clothes become impossible, doing your dishes becomes impossible. But
being a student and also just being an adult trying to manage mental health, when you're in the trenches and you don't want to be alive anymore, it's impossible to get out of bed, it's impossible to shower, it's impossible to cook for yourself. So mentally trying to survive whilst like physically actually trying to just like be okay, it's damn near impossible. And if you've ever experienced that, you are so fucking strong, and like it's just not easy. Like being alive is not easy.
Yeah, and I think when my meds really started to kick in about like February of this year, of 2024, I experienced such a high where I was like, oh my God, it's not a struggle to take care of myself anymore. But then I just chose not to. And that was a different kind of mental health that I had to contend with, was like finding, like learning the balance of like, once you reach stability, like stability from the bottom can feel like a high, but it's not. And I kind of forgot how to like take care of myself and like do my assignments. Being a student is fucking hard. I fucked up big time, but I'm picking up the pieces now. And now, yeah, I think people who don't struggle with mental health at uni do not take it for granted.
Okay, wait. Our friend is leaving. Pause.
Pause. We should do an outfit. The first time I want to show it off. There's a cat tree. I just noticed it outside. This is our differences. You're very minimalist and I'm very maximalist in fashion.
Sana's fit eats today.
I'm a witch. Wait, how? Okay. Get the resync audio. I stopped it. Okay, we're back. Where were we?
It's Suicide Prevention Month, so in honor of this, I do want to speak on the fact that you are in the presence of...
Olive has gone to the bathroom. We didn't kill them.
We didn't kill them. You're in the presence of 3 galleys who have indeed been in the trenches, have been so close to death so many times, and are now here to tell the tale.
In all different ways, too.
In all different ways.
Because I'll do my very quick summary of my mental health story.
Yeah, mental health story from Sana.
I'm gonna do my quick little story time of it. I have dealt with a plethora of medical issues basically my entire life, starting at the age of 10. I got diagnosed with a super rare disease, autoimmune disease, that has fucked me thoroughly for the rest of my life and has made me constitutionally weak. They're back. But yeah, I don't know. It has impacted me for the rest of my life. Like, it happened when I was 10, so now I've spent more life alive with health issues than not. And for half of those years, I was not conscious, so yippee. But yeah, I had lots of health issues, very dire. My mom let it slip that I #was lost on the operating table. For like, I fully died. People are like, I literally died for like a minute, which is crazy. She just casually dropped that lawyer like on a Tuesday, cooking dinner. My mom, keeper of secrets, I swear.
Okay.
But yeah, so I literally died for a minute, came back, and so I think it's impacted how I live very thoroughly. Like, you know, the self-soothing and what I've chosen to pursue and the things I like to do with my time. They've all, I think having such severe issues when I was young kind of changed how I thought of life, because it's like, well, I'm on borrowed time. So the way I live my life is very carpe diem, you know, because
as you should.
You die once. Okay, well, let's get the new lease on life. Let's go do it. And so everything I've done has done like in the pursuit of happiness. That's how I live my life.
I think
I
that's how
try
people should live their lives. Hedonism is lit.
For it. But yeah, my whole life is being spent trying to maximize short-term and long-term happiness simultaneously, which is not always easy. Sometimes you have to pick one. But yeah. But my mental health, like I said, it got very bad when I was 14, I had transplants, and so I had my transplants, and I wasn't in school. I did quarantine before it was cool, and so my mental health got very bad. But after that, and when I started going back to school and being social again, and not being in my house alone and being able to like move on my own and do all that stuff again, my mental health did eventually clear up, but it took like a couple years to like get steady again. And even then I was still really introverted and really shy and really anxious, because I think my depression went away after the circumstances changed, but I don't think the anxiety went away. That took a lot longer for me to curb, and even then I still experience it a bit, but it's not nearly to the level it was. But yeah, mental health is very strange to me because it feels very like far off. Like you guys have both spoken of like suicidal thoughts, whereas to me that idea is so foreign. Because I have that like sick thing. Like,
I wish, bro.
no, but like it's that sick. Like literally, like even if I got to a point where, yeah, hey Mert, but
No, we're just talking into this phone because it looks really
yeah, but like even I believe like even when I was really in the boonies of mental health, it was always focused on getting better and living a life that I wanted to live. And even if I think I got to the point of depression where I could reach suicidal thoughts, I have this really sick like fact that I hang on to, in that I'm expensive. Like people have invested money into having me here. Like if I wanted to, I could find a tangible number of how much my life has been worth, and it's huge. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like for me, and I have money anxiety, so like I can always go down to that route. It's like if I'm so sad and I got to a point like that, personally my brain would go, well, Sana, you'd be wasting money. Like, and it's sick and weird and detached and not necessarily what you think, but strangely, that's something I hold on to quite a bit when I get really sad. It's just like, well, Sana, people paid for you to be here. Shape up.
As I said at the beginning of this podcast, I just admire Sana so much, and she is someone I really look up to when it comes to like willpower, because like this girl, like God did not treat her well, and like she has like constitutionally been put through the ringer like her whole life. And I just, you know, like she's never been to a point where she's like, damn, like I can't keep thugging this out, I can't do it anymore, you know. And it's like amazing, because I now in this phase of my life where I am feeling very stable, I'm on the right medication, I know some shit, I have more like things in my, what do you call it, tool belt, like
yeah, more tools
More
in my
tools.
tool.
I have more tools in my tool belt.
More tricks up
I'm
your
better
sleeve.
equipped to like deal with myself and deal with life and my brain, I think, at this point in my life. And my goal now is just to build a stronger sense of a stronger willpower, because back in day I was always like the smallest inconvenience that could happen and I'm like, I'm out. Like
that makes sense, because you described what was it? Malignant shame?
malignant shame.
Which is the exact fucking
Yeah.
opposite. What's the
Yeah.
foil to
Yeah.
willpower?
Yeah. So like the smallest thing could happen and I'm like, I'm literally gonna fucking kill myself. Like it's so over. It's so fucking
done.
over. And now I want to get to this place in my life where I'm just constantly like, we're so back. Because
Constantly being back.
I'm 20 now, freshly 20, and I'll be so honest, I did not think I was going to make it to 20. I didn't think I was going to make it past 18. Genuinely. So I feel really proud to be here. I know motherfuckers are happy I'm here. I know I bring light into this world. And I know you bring... I wasn't even looking at that. And I know y'all bring light into this world too. So if you are in a place like where you're just like, you can't find a reason to live, like, just know that it's Suicide Prevention Month, and if you kill yourself, you're doing a real bad thing. Like, killing yourself is a sin.
Right, let's not. Dude, if you kill yourself, that's like a massive inconvenience to everyone you
look,
know.
It's a massive inconvenience to you too, because like
There's so much life to live.
there's so
girl.
much life to live, and you know, like,
Worst case, I would say, if it gets that bad, low key, the weird thing I do is like, I don't know if it's helpful. Like when I get very stressed, I get really small. And when I get really sad, I get really fucking big. I'll zoom out so far. I'm like, I am but a grain of rice. I have free will. Hold on. And like, people talk about like doing things out like spur of the moment or like whatever, but it's like, low-key, if you're sad, book a trip. If you're sad, go like change what you are seeing.
look, if you have to run away from your problems in order to feel better,
if
do
you're
it.
young like us, or not even if you're young, you probably have more money to burn. Like, go do something.
Yeah.
Like, go make a friend. Like, literally, like.
There are other avenues than killing yourself, and that's something that I did not know for a long time.
I think something that my director said for a play that I was in that has really stuck with me has been, you are under no obligation to be the same person you were a minute ago. Like, every day you wake up, you could be someone new. And that doesn't mean like change your interests, change everything. It just means like you can choose to be the person you want to be. You don't have to live with the shame of knowing that, oh my God, I'm this person who was suicidal. I'm this person who, I mean, me personally, I have a lot of shame on how I behaved when I was really spiraling, which was quite selfishly. The truth is, one of the ugly sides of mental illness is it will make you the villain sometimes. Like, you are not always in the right just because you are suffering. Because your suffering then translates into other people's suffering. And I think for so long, and I still struggle with it sometimes, I feel this horrible shame of like, I can't believe that I did that, and I can't believe that that was who I was. But it was also a huge awakening for me to be like, but I don't have to be like that. You know, I got really sick of the excuse that I abused all the time was, I hate confrontation, I'm so scared of confrontation. Get the fuck over it. Because if you don't do confrontation, confrontation will do you. There is something really magical about waking up and being like, okay, today is the day that I'm going to be able to talk about things. And you won't notice it immediately. It is not a crazy quick snap change, but over time you will shift, wax and wane, and then one day you'll wake up and be like, wow, that doesn't hurt me anymore, or that doesn't scare me anymore. As Mitski said, one warm summer night I'll hear fireworks outside and I'll listen to the memories as they cry.
Lit.
Man who has never listened to Mitski
In his life, bro, doesn't even know who Mitski is.
Wait, let me say something quickly, then you can take off, Queen. Anyway, you are not doomed by the narrative. There's nothing pre-written. You can always change, like Olive said, and it gets more fun every time you do. I don't know, like, even if you decide you're something and you try it and it's not good, it doesn't feel good, change it again. Like, no one can hold you down. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna quote a lady now, a lady in music. My wife, Suki Waterhouse. She's releasing an album, and there was a line, and she basically said, fuck what you think of me at my worst. And like fuck what you thought of me when I was at my worst. And that means, like, you can, obviously, don't spread your pain outward. Don't give people your insecurities. Don't, like, you can lean on people for support, but don't do it in a malicious way that's gonna hurt them. You can reach out and always seek help and, like, all that stuff, but don't punish yourself forever based on things that are in the past and can't be changed. And I always say, like, people are like, oh, dang. And I'm like, well, hindsight's a bitch. You can just not look at her. Or, like, don't let yourself be eaten by nostalgia of better times because it's the past. But I would say, yeah, just don't hang on. Always look forward. Don't look too far forward. But you can just look at today and look at tomorrow or maybe this week. And it's just little steps, one at a time. You're not doomed by the narrative.
What Sonika said about, like, punishing yourself reminded me of, like, again, toxic shame, malignant shame. And just the notion that, like, being mean to yourself and reiterating this narrative that you are not worth shit, that you're terrible, like, reiterating this, like, low self-esteem, low self-worth, like, it does nothing for you other than make your life harder and more miserable. So, like, if you want to, like, have any chance of, like, any sort of level of happiness in this world, like, you're doing yourself a favor if you learn to be kind to yourself. And I know it's so hard if you've dealt with, like, you know, self-hatred your whole life, but, like, make an effort, go to therapy to rewire that shit, because you bullying yourself, like, it does fucking nothing for you other than make you suffer. And, like, the world is hard enough, like, society is cruel enough.
Be your own op, bro.
You can't be your own op. There are enough ops out here. Like, don't be your own op. Like, as soon as I, like, started being kinder and experiencing more, like, self-compassion, like, I just feel lit and, like, I love myself. But that took so long. That took years.
Practice, like,
it's practice. It is a practice.
Exercise.
You know, love is a choice. Loving yourself is a choice. Loving people is a choice. You have to stand up every day and put in the effort.
And in the immortal words of Bell Hooks, forgiveness is love too. Love is forgiveness. The people that love you will forgive you.
And you gotta forgive yourself.
And you have to forgive yourself because, you know, you can't constantly rely. Obviously, you do need external support, but you cannot rely on other people telling you who you are, telling you that you're good enough. Eventually, you just have to reach a point. I just always like to picture within myself. I like to picture my younger self. I like to see myself with that fuck-ass bob and those fuck-ass bangs. And I'm just like crying. There's this little girl inside of me. She's crying, just like weeping, rocking back and forth. And I just go up to her and give her a big hug. I'm like, it's okay. Like, I forgive you. Like, because how can you be so angry at someone who's been through so much?
I think visualization techniques, like all I've just mentioned, are super hype as well, because like, if I imagined my like younger self and imagined me being there for her, being a figure that she grew up with, being there for her now, like that is the most like rewarding thing ever. And I know I would treat her well, and I would take care of her, and I would protect her, tell her everything's okay, tell her she is loved and worth shit. And like, I wish so, you know, parent your younger self.
'Cause it's true. It's true. I will say, like, being kind to myself, like, we talk about willpower, and I would focus basically the entirety of my willpower on being kind to myself. And my inner dialogue, I would always say, oh, I'm my biggest cheerleader, bro. I had a bad day, and my brain just goes, okay, Pookie, sit down. Order good food, watch a good movie, put on the most comfortable clothes you can, see if anyone wants to call tonight. And if they don't, that's fine. You watch this movie and maybe that movie, or maybe just go to bed early. I coddle myself. I always try. I always try, like, yes, I coddle myself and I'm kind to myself and I take care of myself, but I'm also, like, I don't excuse bad behavior. I do recognize mistakes, and I'm like, okay, let's just not do that again, sweetie. Like, we know why it happened, but, like, let's lock in and not do that. Let's not hurt other people, or, like, let's not do that from a negative place. And, oh, where'd my thought go? Oh.
Here, I'm putting it back.
What were we talking about before I took the phone?
Like self-compassion, being kind to yourself, your younger self, your child self.
1 second. We're going into my mind palace.
Okay.
Because I had a really sick thought. You're gonna love it when I find it.
Can I speak while you find
Yeah.
it? Okay. I want to say, like, in order to add on to what I said, the most rudimental thing, because like I was thinking while these other two folks were talking, I was like, what can I say to the public that like encourages you to stay alive and like trap through hard times and not kill yourself? And like there was no piece of advice that I ever got that really like, you know, helped. I was just like, damn, I'm out. Like there was not something someone said that like made a shift in my mind. But I will say the most rudimental thing in healing mental illness or like aiding your mental health, making you feel better about yourself, is learning how to be kind to yourself and how to practice self-compassion. Because until I did that, I hated myself for being depressed. There's so much shame, self-shame, self-inflicted bullying and shame surrounded by mental illness. So like when I was suffering and like feeling super depressed, I would like be crying, sobbing, rocking myself back and forth. And if I called someone to receive help for it, to like be like, hey, I'm not doing good, I'd like want to hit myself, because I'd be like, why the fuck are you reaching out for help? You don't deserve this. Like, and like I just sound like a maniac repeating this now, but that was my absolute mindset. So like the most rudimental thing, learn to be kind to yourself, learn to not hate yourself, and then the hardships in life, you'll be able to get through it easier.
I remembered the thought, and it's still on topic. Yippee.
Kill him.
But I had my birthday recently. We're both Leos. We both had recent birthdays. And I found in my journal an entry I'd written the night before my 21st birthday. And oh my god, I almost made myself cry because it was so sweet. And it said something along the lines of, no, any version of Sana who reads this after now, I love you because you're me and so much more. And I was like, bitch, who wrote this? I was reading it as I was about to turn 22. And I was just like, oh, that's fucking crazy that you like pulled that on me, you know? Like, I was like, ooh, you snuck that in there. But like, it rings so true because like, what a nice thing to have heard from baby you or younger you, that she's excited to become you. Like, I read that and I was like, dang, girl, spit. Because I was like, and like, she didn't know the year that was coming.
No.
And I don't want her to know the year that was coming because it was rough. And yet here I was, a year later, reading it, and then I wrote it down again in the journal entry I made as I was turning 22. And I was just like, dang, you know what? She's right. I'm her, but I've experienced even more.
And you're only stronger and better and funnier.
And it was just like the fact that I just written, I love you, to myself. Like, it wasn't aimed at anyone else. It was just like, to the Sanas that read this after me, I love you because you're me and more. And it's just like, it's such a simple sentiment, but it was so nice.
To all the Sanas I've loved before. And you know what? If you're struggling to find a place to love yourself from, pick a person you want to be, anyone you want to be, and do something you think they would do that you would admire them for. You know, there was this TikTok or tweet or whatever the fuck, you know, these things cycle in perpetuity, of someone saying, I don't miss people anymore. I carry the best parts of them within myself. And like, I truly...
You are a mosaic of everyone you've ever loved.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can start small. You can do like a small act of kindness. Now, whenever I think something nice about someone's outfit, I just tell it to them.
Tell them. Spread kindness in this world. Don't spread hate.
You're not going to learn to love yourself overnight or forgive yourself. You need, like, the truth is, part of forgiving yourself is becoming someone you want to forgive, you know? And you want to forgive someone who's trying. You want to forgive someone who's given their all to it. Yeah. Put in the work, put in the hours. We stay hungry. We devour.
And again, this goes back to getting medicated. If it because like sometimes you're in the trenches so bad that you can't even think rationally. You can't form a thought about yourself that is remotely kind. So in that case, medication can really help people. It helped me. Like, as soon as my brain like balanced out, I was able to think about my life from a rational point of view. And also, I just want to, adding on to all this, like, insecurity and self-hatred is like a fucking cancer, and it will spread. And you will notice when people start practicing like deep internal self-compassion and like self-kindness and admiration and complimenting themselves and starting to rewire their brain into thinking they're someone worth love, you can see that they shine, they glow differently, they become a better person. Like, when you hate yourself, you're like half the person you could be. You're nowhere near the person you could be.
You are not that capacity, girl.
You are not. Like,
so much to become.
You have so much capacity. Like, and let yourself shine, bro. Not to be cringy, but like Olive was insecure for years, and like they would discuss their insecurities with me, and I would just be like, why can't you fucking see yourself the way I see you? And now they sort of do, and they just high key like, and they are the baddest now. And like, I've seen the change. I've witnessed it firsthand, and it is amazing. It is amazing to see. Olive is the baddest. They're so cool. They're so swag, and everyone sees it too because they see it within themselves. And it's the same with Sana. Sana just affirms, I'm the life of the party. I'm that bitch. And she is, period.
I will say, like, I literally, like, if I'm going into a situation that is, like, a bit anxiety-inducing or makes me just even slightly nervous, like, or, like, say I'm going to a party and I don't know anyone but one person, or, like, something like that, like, little social situations, I will quite literally just list all the things I am that day. I was like, okay, what do I want these people to think I am? Let's make a short itemized list. And I will stand outside the fucking party and I'll be like, I'm funny, I'm smart, I'm absolutely the life of the party, and everyone's gonna want to be my fucking friends. And when you say that and you're like, spit, and you walk in
with that confidence and that self-knowing,
and you think that, and you're like, this is who I am today. I'm that funny, smart girl that you want to talk to.
They know and they see it. Vibe doesn't lie. Like,
No.
It doesn't.
That shit's clear, transparent. But yeah, like,
No one wants to be friends with insecure people. Sorry. It's true.
we want you to be your full self.
Fucking true. Am I wrong?
Nah. But I would, like, yeah, if you get into situations where you're nervous, like you said, like, you can model it after, like, and if you're not at the point of self-love where you can just say those things and believe them, find someone to model those aspects for. Like, if you know someone that you, or like, even if you see someone at the party that you want to talk to, be like, okay, what are they doing? What is it that I can emulate in this moment to feel just a slightly bit more. And it's a slow little thing. Like, this kind of ties back episode on confidence, but it just like confirm to yourself and just say things, and like if you say them enough, they will eventually be true. And that's just a fact. And you are deserving of help and support, and whatever form that might be, whether it's therapy or it's medication or reaching out to a family member or a friend or finding a hobby or just like doing anything. Like anything can be helpful.
If you experience self-hatred and you're perpetuating all these like negative things about yourself, that's also a massive catalyst into thinking you're not deserving of help. I didn't think I was deserving of help. I thought I was a burden to everyone. And that was so fucked up because I'm not, and people love me. And what's more important now is I love myself. So I know that I need to seek help when I need it. And I was scared to get on medication for years because I thought it would change my brain chemistry. That's exactly what it does. But I thought it was gonna like change my personality. And it doesn't. Like, it just makes me more stable and more able to function as a human being.
Shit up so you can be that a bit more.
Yeah. I can be myself and more.
Yeah, I think when I think about my life before medication, it all feels like one big haze. And it's funny because a lot of people describe the opposite.
So many people say. I've read that in articles before.
I'm just that smart. And a lot of people describe the opposite feeling. When they're on meds, they're in a haze. But for me personally, my life until about a year ago felt like this long, torturous blur where I was
giving Beau is Afraid. Like, that was our life.
Watch that fucking movie. We were watching it, we were like, whoa, he's literally me. No, but like it it felt like a constant battle, and it was like every day was like, okay, it's either me or the depression today, one of them's gonna win. And then when I got on meds, it didn't fix my life. Meds are not going to fix your life. However, it made it so much more manageable, and it made me realize like it doesn't have to be a battle. It really doesn't have to be. And it makes you able to accept love. And from a more philosophical point of view, as the Dalai Lama once said, notwithstanding kissing little boys, when he was asked, how do you deal with feelings of self-hatred? He said, I don't understand the question. I don't comprehend what self-hatred is because I do not view myself as an individual. I am an amalgamation of all the people in my life, and hating yourself is hating them too. You hate the people who have made you as lovely as you are, as beautiful as you are, and that's not very nice now, is it?
It's not very nice. One sec. I just want to go back to what Olive said. Medication, it affects everyone differently, but the point that I want to drive home is that whether it's medication or therapy or hypnosis or whatever the fuck, seek help if you're struggling. That's what's most important.
They're not cures, but man, they can help you get up.
And they're not band-aids either. Medication doesn't teach you how to deal with your problems. It doesn't like teach you how to deal with your self-hatred or your self-shame.
It just changes the battlefield a bit.
Yeah, it gives you a bit of like an energy drink. Let's say that. Let's say you've been cycling for years with no electrolytes. Inject some electrolytes so you can like perform better, cycle better, not crash, not bonk out, bonk in the cycling way, not boink. But medication is different for everyone. For us, it has been really good. Life-changing.
However, people have a lot of criticisms, and I grew up in a house where medication has not been helpful for a lot of issues. Different mental disorders are affected very differently by medication, and I think we live in a society, specifically in the UK, the constant privatization and outsourcing of the NHS, I could talk about this for years, it's kind of my degree, has kind of undermined any mental health services that they can give you. People are given sertraline after 10 minutes of consultation. They're like, oh, you're sad? Take some sertraline. Because they are so under-resourced by the government that mental health is a socioeconomic issue as well. It is a lot easier for us, for example, for us very privileged people in the global north to access stability because we have the financial and socioeconomic means of reaching it. For people who rely on the NHS, who are only given meds and then put on like a 5-year wait list for therapy, that's ridiculous and not a reasonable goal.
You won't feel that way.
Yeah, and
that is a band-aid.
And the treatment of mental health is revolutionary. It challenges every existing system, because self-preservation and preservation of each other is like something that is disincentivized in our society. You need to work yourself to the bone, or you need to prove your worth to be here all the time, and we live in a society that constantly tells us this. But the truth is, you are enough just being as you are. And yeah.
Closing thoughts.
But yeah, like, you are not. Yeah, it's just gonna work out.
You are not.
What I said, I could say it better than Olive did, so I'm just gonna stop. I will say, like, one last thing, like, on the topic of, like, just find things, like, slowly that you like about yourself, or model yourself after people that you like, down to your features. If you deal with, like, insecurity of, like, physical sense, like, a big thing with features, I've always liked my face, but, like, there was something, like, I told it to my friends who, like, struggled with certain features on their face. I didn't like this, or I didn't like this, and I was like, they're the best part of your face. And we were like,
Our bitch friend wants to get a nose job, and the nose is her prettiest thing.
I can't agree. Anyway, but, like, can't agree. But this whole thing, and what I said to them, I was like, but honey, your face is, like, made up of what shit, like, your face is made up of what hundreds and hundreds of people thought was beautiful. And it's been condensed into you now. And, like, how marvelous. Like, I don't know, my eyes could be, like, 100 years old, like, and that's where they've come from, like. And it's like my nose, like, that's come from there. My eyebrows, me and my cousins all have the same eyebrows. We know someone picked them. Someone picked them out. And so now we're all gifted with that. And that's why everyone is so beautiful in their uniqueness. So try and find those little things and maybe look at it, like, once again, from a bigger angle, if that's helpful.
And I will say, just to close, this is my closing point. If you can't find things to live for in yourself, if you can't find anything you admire in yourself, find things to live for outside of yourself. For me, I love getting coffee every day, and that's such a menial thing, but, like,
For me, it's makeup.
For Sonica, it's makeup. For me, it's getting coffee at a coffee shop, specifically my favorite coffee shop. I go every single day, and it keeps me afloat. It's nice to just do things that you know you love. What's one thing that you like?
I love drawing. I find it so therapeutic. Hold on.
Yes.
They're pulling out their art book.
Yes.
A little
Yes.
treat if you made it to this point in the pod.
The visual listeners. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, for me, it's makeup. Like, I get actively pissed off if I don't get to spend, like, those 30 minutes with myself doing my makeup.
Sketchbook tour.
I've been allowing myself to get really colorful lately, which has been so fun. I love that I'm not, like, obligated to, you know, stick to my sad line art.
Cute. It's so. I love that. I want to buy a print of a cat in that book.
Another thing that I want to live for is to get more tattoos, because I fucking love tattoos. And the idea that I have to stay alive to get more tattoos, I will do it, and I will wait, because I want more tattoos. I love tattoos. Another thing I want to stay alive for, I love watching Love Island every night. That is something I live for.
I'm telling you, just find silly things.
Silly little things, silly little girly
Like, for
things.
me, it's like literally like what I would do when I was really sad this past year. I would just pick a thing and be like, well, gotta make it to that, because that's gonna rule. Like, even then, like, for me, it was like booking
Things
trips
to look forward to.
Like, for me, pre me be like going to Bristol and now going to be living in Bristol, in London, what I would look forward to was, like, basically my bi-monthly weekend visit to Bristol. I was like, ooh, we're gonna go dancing, and I'm gonna see people that know me and love me, and it's gonna be a marvelous, crazy whirlwind of 48 hours, and I'll ride that. And, like, so when I wasn't there, I could look forward to that, and then when I was there, I was like, oh, sick.
Yeah.
Let's just enjoy. Lay back, enjoy. And that became something I did to just get through.
I'm staying alive for my next trip to Southeast Asia, baby. I had such a good time, I have to go back.
It's in the books.
I stay
but yeah.
alive for every weekend that I can go 365 party girling, like going to the club, hitting the club. I will stay alive for that. I love that shit, you know?
I'm staying alive to go back to my beautiful flat with my beautiful friends, go to my weekly gay club night that I love, lock in academically.
Exactly. There are things.
Staying alive.
Have goals, you know?
There's so
Stay
many
alive.
things.
Stay alive. Staying alive. Staying alive. Ha 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 ha. Staying alive. I'll put that in the beginning of the episode. Okay, wait. All right. That was the episode.
Now media.
Media of the week. Media. You have to do it. Media. Okay.
Sabrina Carpenter.
Sabrina Carpenter album is so good. It is pop perfection. It is a no skips album. It is
low key.
High key. Better
Taste and Jenna Ortega changed me. Anyway.
Taylor Swift has released nothing as good as this recently. Olivia Rodrigo released nothing as good as this recently. Nicki released nothing good as this recently. Gracie Abrams, nothing. Sabrina is the queen of pop right now, and I will die on that hill.
Sabrina, we love you.
She's so sexy. I love her.
I don't know that much about her, but Magdalena Bay's what's it called?
You can pull it. We'll talk about Sabrina more. Also, but yeah, I love that album. I thought it was so fun. It's really nice to walk around to. Haven't had one in a while. Ooh,
Album?
Magdalena Bay's Imaginal Disc is so beautifully mixed. It's just an experience. Like, you don't even have to enjoy it one particular song. It's just like, as an experience, so like beautiful and lovely.
Okay, you speak about your music. I need to pull up something.
But yeah, so
Listening to old Ella Fitzgerald. Listening to old Ella Fitzgerald is very healing. I made a playlist of my favorite songs by her.
Oh, Ella Fitzgerald is like one of the original queens of everything.
Of everything.
Everything. That's it. But yeah, I've been enjoying the Sabrina Carpenter. I also have had a really slow, sad girl playlist that's like had a bunch of like lyricless songs. Like I said, I mentioned them last week. I've also been listening to, what's the song called? It's by Orville Peck.
Oh, Dead of Night.
Yeah, that one, I've been enjoying that for the moody vibe.
I love
It.
Did you find it? Oh yeah, it's all Sabrina. It's all Sabrina. She's taking over, if I'm honest.
So yeah, that is fundamental. I will say now, TV shows and films.
Scooby-Doo.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
I've actually
Scooby-Doo.
gone back and watched it.
Are you fucking joking? We're supposed to do it together.
Bro, at what point? We all moved. Anyway.
Okay. Scooby-Doo Mysteries Incorporated is the best animated thing ever. Like cartoon, like children's cartoon. It is so scary and masterfully made. It's so good. The overarching plot, Mr. E, like so fire.
Also, like the character development, like
Yeah.
there's like a quote from Freddie, and I was like, oh, now you can, like, I like you now.
The jokes
I
are so
struggle.
funny too.
I struggle.
Me personally, I've been rewatching Desperate Housewives. It's so fun. It's ridiculous. You think like, oh no, how's this dramatic plot point gonna wrap up? One of them dies. So easy. I love it.
So simple.
I love watching K-dramas with my parents. Like it's one, like we just love K-dramas. The action and the violence is so stellar in K-dramas. They do it so much better than Western shows. So we've been watching a K-drama called Bloodhounds. It's all about boxing. Oh, it's so fire. I love it.
That sounds good.
It's so good, and everyone is so like, oh my God. Dude, in the episode I just watched last night, everyone fucking died. And it was so fucking traumatic. I was
That
like,
sounds
I was screaming, and my dad was like, shut the fuck up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Avoidant attachment lunch. Anyway. I've also been listening to a podcast. I literally started yesterday because I woke up, I fall asleep to podcasts. And I woke up one day to like a weird man screaming in my ear because my podcast had started shuffling into new podcasts because I had caught up with my OG one. And it's called Malevolent, and it's a horror podcast. I can only consume horror content and horror media in form of podcast. And I figured this out by listening to the Magnus Archives, which is a very famous one. And now I'm listening to Malevolent, and it's just about a dude with a demon in his eyes.
Fire, would recommend. Okay, we have to go because our cafe is closing right
They're
now.
closing. We ran the clock out.
We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hot girls get medicated, hot girls get help. So get on that.
Do it.
2024, 2025. You deserve it. Sexy girls get help. Sexy girls have mental health issues, and that's fine. We love you. We love you. See you next time. And keep in touch.